Welcome to the Watch Me podcast. I'm Lauren, but you can call me Lo. And today we're picking up where the last episode left off. So if you have not listened to part one yet, go listen to the first one and then come back here because this conversation builds on the foundation of last week. Because last time we talked about the lie, I'm not worthy. The quiet, brutal little story that can sit underneath everything else, under the way we try to become easier to love, easier to understand, easier to approve of, successful enough, healed enough, pretty enough, and then we can finally breathe. But today I want to talk about what happens after you name that lie. Because you can hear you are worthy and still go right back into real life trying to earn peace and earn rest and earn approval and earn permission and earn the right. You can know the words, you can save the quote, you can cry in your car because something finally hit your heart. And then 5 minutes later, life starts real lifing again. Someone has a tone, the kids need 12 things. Your brain gets loud. The house is a mess. You're tired. Your jeans are rude for no reason. And suddenly you're living like your worth is back on trial. That is what we're talking about today because it's one thing to say, I am worthy. It is another thing to build a life that actually believes it. And that's where fulfillment comes in. Not the fake kind, not the kind where your life looks good on paper, but you still feel disconnected from yourself. Not the kind where everyone else thinks you are doing amazing, but deep down you keep thinking, why doesn't this feel the way I thought it? I'm talking about real fulfillment, the kind where your life actually feels like yours, where you're not just checking boxes, keeping people happy, hitting goals, and looking put together from the outside. You feel connected to what you're building. You feel honest about what you want. You feel at peace with who you are becoming. Because fulfillment is not about becoming more impressive. It's about becoming more honest. It's when your outside life finally starts matching your inside truth. That is the wound today. The woman who is doing all the right quote unquote things and still feels that quiet ache. The woman who keeps trying to grow fast enough, achieve enough, help enough, heal enough, and become enough so fulfillment will finally show up and say, okay, babe, you did it. You can feel good now. Because that's exhausting because you can be doing a lot of good things and still not feel fulfilled, even if you are doing them from the wrong place. You can build confidence from pressure. You can grow from shame. You can contribute from guilt. You can achieve from fear. You can become the woman everyone looks at and says she's doing amazing and still feel like something inside you cannot fully receive the good. And I need you to hear me right away. That does not mean you are ungrateful. It does not mean you are dramatic. It does not mean you are impossible to satisfy, too complicated, too needy, or one of those women who just can't be happy. It might mean the good things in your life are trying to land in a heart that is still questioning whether it deserves them. That is where so many of us are living, not empty because our lives are empty, empty because we are disconnected from ourselves inside lives that look full. We have responsibilities, the lists, the goals, the people who need us, the dreams we're afraid to admit still matter, the healing work, the podcast, the books, the routine, the planner, the notes app full of thoughts we swear will become something someday. We are trying to become emotionally healthy, physically healthy, financially responsible, mentally stable, present with our kids, good at our jobs, attractive enough, blah, 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 blah. And then somehow not lose our minds when someone asks what's for dinner. And then the world has the audacity to say, just find your purpose. Bitch, I'm still trying to find my sock from this morning. So I have to talk about fulfillment in a way that actually sounds like real life. Fulfillment is not just happiness. Happiness is beautiful. I love happiness. I love a clean kitchen, a good hair day, my nails done. I love when my kids are happy and no one is melting down before 9 a.m. We support happiness 10 out of 10. No notes. Okay. But fulfillment is deeper. Happiness can be a good day. Yeah. Fulfillment is a grounded life. Happiness can come from something going your way, but fulfillment comes from living in alignment with who you actually are. Fulfillment is what keeps you from feeling empty in a life that looks full. It's when your outside life and your inside truth finally start speaking the same language. It's when the life you are building starts to feel like yours, not the life guilt assigned to you, not the life fear approved for you, not the life everyone else expects from you, and definitely not the life that looks impressive but feels like a hostage situation behind the scenes. And this is where Jamie Kern Lima's work in Worthy, her book that we talked about last week, comes in because she teaches what is called the true fulfillment equation. Okay. And her equation is self confidence plus growth plus contribution multiplied by self worth equals fulfillment. Self confidence plus growth plus contribution multiplied by self worth equals fulfillment. And most important part of that equation is the multiplier. Self worth is the multiplier. Here's the simple version. Confidence helps you move. Growth helps you become. Contribution gives your life meaning. But self worth decides whether any of it actually feels fulfilling. That is the part I want you to really understand. Self-worth is what lets the good get in. Because if your self-worth is low, every good thing has to fight through the lie. A compliment has to fight through, they're just being nice. An opportunity has to fight through, I probably slipped through the cracks. A success has to fight through, okay, but what's next? A relationship has to fight through, what if they leave when they see the real me? A dream has to fight through, who do I think I am? Rest has to fight through, I should be doing more. So the good is there, but it can't fully land without that self-worth, without that multiplier. And you are surrounded by evidence that your life is moving, growing, changing, expanding, but inside, it still feels like you're waiting for something to finally make you feel enough. And that is why the self-worth matters. Self-worth turns success into peace instead of pressure. It turns growth into freedom instead of punishment. Self-worth lets you stop turning every blessing into a burden and every opportunity into a test you have to pass to prove you belong. So here's the question I want you to carry through this whole episode, okay? Am I doing this from worth or am I doing this from proving? Because that question will tell you so much because fulfillment is not the reward for proving yourself. Fulfillment is what happens when your life stops arguing with your worth. So let's start with self confidence. Okay. We're going to go to the equation, the self confidence equation. Self confidence contributes to fulfillment because confidence helps you move. It helps you try, it helps you participate in your own life instead of sitting on the sidelines waiting to feel ready. And that matters because you can't build a fulfilling life if you never take the risk, if you never speak up or never start the thing. Okay. Confidence matters because fulfillment requires movement. A lot of us have been waiting for confidence like it's going to knock on the door with flowers and a permission slip. And we think, once I feel confident, I'll start. Once I feel confident, I'll speak up. Once I feel confident, blah, 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 XYZ. But confidence is not always what you feel before you go. Confidence is what gets built because you went. Confidence is not a mood. Think of it like a receipt. Every time you do the thing scared, you hand your brain a receipt of proof. See, I showed up. See, I survived. See, I can trust myself. See, I didn't die from being uncomfortable, even though my nervous system, ugh. And yes, the first time you do something different, your body may act like you've committed a crime. The first time you stop over explaining, the first time you let someone be disappointed, old survival patterns may throw themselves on the floor like a toddler in Target. That does not mean you are wrong. It means you are doing something your old life doesn't recognize yet. And that's how confidence starts. But this is why self-worth has to be the multiplier. When self-worth is low, confidence becomes performative. It says, watch me prove myself. You walk into the room, but you're not really present because you're scanning for approval. You take the risk, but your whole identity is attached to the outcome. You post the video, but if nobody likes it, right, your brain turns into just, well, then you did horrible. You apply for the thing, but if you don't get it, the old story says, see, you were never enough. That is confidence without self-worth. It might get you moving, but it doesn't make you free. Because the whole time you're moving, your worth is still on trial. When self-worth is the multiplier, confidence becomes trust. It says, watch me trust myself. You can try without making the outcome your identity. You can fail without becoming a failure. You can be new at something without deciding you are embarrassing. You can walk into a room and think, I belong to myself either way. That is different. That's the freedom. Confidence sure gets you in the room. Self-worth, that multiplier, lets you stay yourself once you get there. And some of you need to hear that because you've walked into rooms before, but you've left yourself at the door. You knew how to be impressive, but not. You knew how to be liked, but not known. You knew how to perform confidence, but underneath it all, you were still asking, like, are they okay with me? Do they approve of me? Did I say that? Am I too much? Am I not enough? That's not fulfillment. That is emotional surveillance. And babe, you were not created to live like a security camera pointed at everyone else's reactions, okay? So here is your confidence takeaway. Do one thing before you feel fully ready. Not because you have to prove it to yourself, but because you're learning to trust yourself. Confidence is built through evidence, not waiting. Next is growth. Growth contributes to fulfillment because fulfillment is not stagnant. A fulfilling life asks you to keep becoming more honest, more aligned, more brave, more free, more you. Growth says, I can become, I can learn, I can heal, I can choose differently. I can stop making decisions from the pain that raised me. That is beautiful because we have to be careful here. You know what? We have to be careful here because personal development can become another way to bully yourself. I love personal development. Clearly, I'm sitting here with a microphone talking about self growth and self worth. And so obviously, I'm not anti growth. I love learning and healing. I love a woman realizing she does not have to stay in survival mode. That is powerful, but we have to tell the truth. If you can only feel valuable when you are improving, healing can become another hustle. You read the books because you think you are broken. You listen to the podcast because you think you're behind. You set the goals because you think the current version of you is not enough. You call it self-improvement, but sometimes it's just self-rejection with a cute planner. And that kind of growth does not feel fulfilling. It feels exhausting because shame will always move the finish line. You can heal one thing and shame will say, great, now fix this. You can grow in one area and shame will point to another one. You can become better, wiser, stronger, softer, more aware, more honest, and shame will still be in the corner like, cute, cute, but not enough. That is not growth. That is punishment. When self worth is low, growth says, fix yourself so you can finally be acceptable. When self worth is the multiplier, growth becomes freedom. It says, I am worthy of a fuller life. So I'm willing to become the woman who can hold it. Do you feel that difference? Right? One is shame and one is love. One is pressure. One is possibility. One says, I hate where I am. The other says, I love myself too much to keep abandoning myself there. Growth from worth does not make the current version of you the villain. It honors her. It says, thank you for surviving. Thank you for getting me here. Thank you for doing what you had to do, but we are not living the rest of our life from this pattern. That is grown woman healing. You are allowed to want better without hating where you are. You are allowed to become more without deciding you are currently nothing. You are allowed to outgrow old habits without shaming the version of you who needed them. Growth is not proof that you were not enough before. Growth is proof that you're alive enough to keep becoming. And I know what it feels like to chase the next version of yourself and call it growth when underneath you are really trying to outrun the fear that you are not enough yet. I know what it feels like to be proud of yourself and feel restless, like peace is always one more milestone away. I know what it feels like to think maybe if I heal enough or learn enough or fix enough or become enough, then I'll finally feel like I can breathe. That's not peace. That it's just you're on a treadmill at that point. Growth should not feel like a punishment plan. Growth should feel like coming home to yourself in bigger and braver ways. So here's your growth takeaway. Ask yourself, am I growing because I love myself or because I think I'm not enough yet? Because self-worth decides whether growth feels like becoming or fixing, freedom or punishment, love or shame. That's the multiplier. Now, let's talk about contribution. Contribution contributes to fulfillment because we are not meant to just survive inside ourselves forever. At some point, the healing becomes something you can offer. The story becomes a bridge. The pain becomes a wisdom. The lesson becomes light for somebody else. Contribution says my life can matter beyond me. And that matters because fulfillment is not just about feeling good. Fulfillment's about meaning. It's about knowing that your voice and your story and your love, your gifts, your humor, your creativity, your motherhood, your friendship, your presence can make something better. Contribution can look like raising your kids with more love than you were shown. It can look like being the friend who tells the truth, writing the book, leading the room, building the business, creating something meaningful, making one person feel less alone. It does not always have to be loud to matter. Okay. Sometimes contribution is not a stage. Sometimes it's a kitchen table. It's a conversation. It's the way you show up in a room and make people feel safe enough to be real. But we need to be careful here too, especially as women, because women hear contribution and immediately translate into give more, do more, be more available, say yes, be useful, be needed, carry everything. No, we're not doing that. That is not contribution. That is self abandonment in a volunteer t shirt. Contribution without self worth becomes please need me so I can feel valuable. And that will drain you. It'll make you say yes when your body is screaming no. It'll make you carry things that were never yours. It will make you confuse being needed with being loved. It will help everyone else build a life when quietly disappearing from your own. And then one day you look around and think like, why am I so resentful? Why do I feel invisible? Why does nobody see me? And sometimes the truth is people did not see you because you were trained only to show them the useful version, the available version, the low maintenance version, the strong one, the helper, the fixer, the one who says it's fine, even when it's not fine. Contribution without boundaries becomes resentment. Contribution without self worth becomes people pleasing. Without alignment becomes I said yes because I did not know who I was allowed to be if I said no. But when self worth is the multiplier, contribution becomes purpose. It says I have something real to give and I still matter while I'm giving it. That is the shift. You can serve without disappearing. You can love people without leaving yourself. You can help without needing your usefulness to prove your value. Your purpose does not require your self abandonment. Let me say that again because I know somebody needs it. Your purpose does not require your self abandonment. You are not here to be useful enough to deserve love. You are not here to give until you vanish. You are not here to become so needed that nobody can imagine life without you because being needed is not the same thing as being nourished. Contribution is not disappearing into everyone else's needs. It's letting the real you leave a mark. So here's your contribution takeaway. Before you say yes to somebody, ask, am I giving from overflow or am I giving from fear? Am I giving because this feels aligned or am I giving because I'm scared to disappoint somebody? Am I saying yes because I want to or because I don't know who I'm allowed to be if I say no? That question will save you from so much resentment because fulfillment needs meaning, yeah, but self-worth determines whether that meaning comes from purpose or pressure. Again, self-worth is the multiplier. So now that we went through all of that, let's put this whole thing together, okay? Self-confidence says I can try. Growth says I can become. Contribution says my life can matter beyond me. Self worth says I'm enough before any of that. And fulfillment is what happens when those pieces start working together. But without self worth, it all starts to twist. Confidence without self worth becomes performance. Growth without self worth becomes punishment. Contribution without self worth becomes people pleasing. Achievement without self worth becomes temporary relief. And that's why you can do all the right things and still feel empty. That's why you can be busy and successful and needed, improving, healing, helping, showing up, and still feel like something's missing. Because fulfillment is not just about what you are doing, it's about who you believe you are while you're doing. The exact same action can feel completely different depending on the worth underneath it. A woman with low self talk can walk into a room and think, I hope they like me. A woman building self worth can walk into a room and think, I belong to myself either way. A woman with low self worth can hit a goal and think, now I have to keep proving this was not a fluke. A woman building self worth can hit a goal and think, I'm proud of myself and I'm still worthy when I rest. Same actions, different foundations, different fulfillment. Because self worth does not just change what you do, it changes how free you feel while you're doing it. And that's why self worth is the multiplier. It determines whether the good things in your life actually feel good. It determines whether success feels like peace or pressure. It determines whether growth feels like freedom or a punishment plan. It determines whether the life you're building finally feels like yours. And this is where we need to name the fulfillment trap. The fulfillment trap is thinking the next thing will finally make you feel whole. The next goal, the next title, the next body, relationship, income level, the next season. But if you carry low self worth into the next thing becomes another place that feels not enough. You will get there and still ask, why doesn't this feel like I thought it would? Not because the dream was wrong, not because the dream was never supposed to do the job of your self worth. Let the dream be a dream. Do not make it your savior. Let success be success. Do not make it your proof. Let growth be growth. Do not make it your punishment. Let contribution be contribution. Do not make it your plea to be loved. Your worth has to come with you. Because if your worth is always waiting for the next version of your life, then every version of your life will feel like it's not enough. And babe, you deserve more than that life. And babe, you deserve more than a life that looks full but feels empty. You deserve more than applause that does not turn into peace. You deserve more than being needed but not nourished. You deserve more than being admired but not known. And you deserve more than becoming impressive while staying disconnected from yourself. Success without peace is just a prettier cage. And I don't want you decorating cages or rooms or closets anymore. I want you free. So here is your fulfillment audit. And remember, we do honest answers only around here, okay? So when you ask yourself these questions, you're going to be honest. You're not going to give me the answer you think I want to hear. Where am I still trying to prove I'm enough? Where am I waiting to feel ready before I let myself move? Am I growing from love or from shame? Where am I giving from overflow and where am I giving because I'm scared not to be needed? Does my life reflect what matters to me or just what everyone expects from me? That last one might, but you should let it sting. Sometimes the truth has to sting so the lie can stop feeling comfortable. Does your life reflect what matters to you or is it mostly built around keeping everyone else comfortable? Is your schedule full of things you choose or things you inherited? Are you building the dream because it's yours or because you're hoping it'll finally make you feel enough? Are you growing because you feel called higher or because you can't stand the current version of yourself? Are you contributing because it feels meaningful or because you're terrified of who you are not needed? No shame there, just truth, because you cannot shift a pattern you refuse to name. And once you name it, I do not want you to try to fix your entire life by tomorrow, okay? We are not turning fulfillment into this punishment plan. We're not making this another reason to feel behind. We're not creating color coded spreadsheets calling how I will become fully fulfilled and stopping a disaster. Absolutely not. You're going to pick one area, one. Maybe self worth needs your attention because you keep treating every outcome like a verdict on your value. Maybe confidence needs one honest action. Maybe growth needs to become kinder. Maybe contribution needs boundaries. Maybe fulfillment needs you to admit that the life you built is impressive but is not fully honest yet. Pick one small move, one brave choice, one decision that says, I am worthy now and I am building from that truth. One move. That's it. That's how fulfillment starts becoming real. Not by blowing up your whole life, not by becoming a completely different person by Thursday, by letting self worth become the multiplier in one area of your life. Because fulfillment is not doing more. Fulfillment is finally building from the truth that you're enough. And I want to speak this over you before you go back into your real life, okay? You are worthy. That is the foundation, but you are also capable. You are becoming, you are needed. You are not needed because everyone gets to drain you, not needed because your worth depends on being useful, needed because there is something in you this world will never receive if you keep hiding behind it. I'm not ready. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Your growth matters. Your healing matters. Your contribution matters. The real you matters. And I know fulfillment can feel far away when you are tired and overwhelmed and doubting yourself, comparing your life to someone else's highlight reel and wondering if you're behind. But maybe fulfillment's not as far away as you think. Maybe it starts with one honest decision, one brave action, one moment where you stop performing and start aligning, one choice to grow from love instead of shame, one contribution that comes from overflow instead of guilt. One reminder that your worth is not waiting at the finish line. It came with you. So stop chasing fulfillment like it's something you earn after you become enough. You are enough now. Now build like it, grow like it, try like it, give like it, live like it, because you are not here to prove your worth. You are here to build a life that reflects it. And when fear whispers, who do you think you are to want more, to build more, become more, give more? Try again, start over, take up space, tell the truth, or use your voice. I want you to look at that thought and say, watch me. And if this episode hit something in you, make sure to subscribe to the Watch Me podcast so we can keep doing this work together. Come hang out with me on Instagram at the Lauren Fritz and TikTok and YouTube at Watch Me Pod. And I will end like I always do. I love you. I am proud of you and I believe in you. And I know you might have trouble loving yourself, being proud of yourself, or believing in yourself right now, and that's okay. So until you can do this alone, use my love and belief in you and go kill it today.